Ladies and gentlemen, we have our answer. All right, we have our answer. Finally, all of you are like, oh my God, man, I hope it's not the Bengals. I told you the Bengals weren't going to be it, baby. There was no way that Bo Nix was not about to go out there and carve up the Kansas City Chiefs backups. Absolutely zero way in hell. Where it stands right now, folks, 38-0. Even if Patrick Mahomes himself went out there to play the final 5 minutes of this game, no shot in the gun range. We have our answer. We are playing the Denver Broncos, which makes it even funnier. I actually want to double check and see how the Jets-Dolphins game was going. Let me see. 18-13, Jets-Dolphins with 14 minutes left in the fourth. Makes it even funnier, makes it even more interesting if the Dolphins ultimately ended up losing to the Jets for the final game of the season. Then it all would have been for absolutely nothing. All right, man, Broncos country, let's ride. You know what I'm talking about? Listen, I'm happy about this. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am absolutely thrilled with this potential matchup. I really, really am. Now, defensively, strong team, right? Benito, and then obviously incredible secondary, solid pass rush as well. We're going to see our share of challenges. But when I look at this Broncos team, and trust me, we're going to be unpacking this in detail throughout the remainder of this week when we figure out when game time is, the whole nine. I see a rookie quarterback, which I know a lot of us have a lot of criticism toward Sean McDermott, but he is typically very good at getting inside of the head of a rookie quarterback. And the Broncos have been struggling to run the football as of late as well. So combine that with home field advantage, everything and anything that has to do with this overall squad. Massive, massive day for Bills fans all across the country. We finally know who we are playing. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Do me a favor, roll call and let me know where you are tuning in from. I want to see how far Bills Mafia truly extends right now, folks. Sound off in the chat and let me know where you are tuning in from. I do need to let everyone know that this show is powered, of course, by BetUS. Folks, BetUS is hands down the number one sports book on the face of the planet. And if you are looking forward to watching who wins the NFC North and who gets the first seed in the NFC playoffs tonight with the Vikings and the Lions, they have the lines right here, and they are matching 150% of your first deposit all the way up to $2,000, and also 125% of your second and your third all the way up to the exact same figure as long as you use code YouTube150. All right, so that is where we are at. Guys, keep doing me a favor. Roll call in the chat. Let me know where you are tuning in from. Beautiful, man. Rochester, man. Come on, Cody. I feel like all of our prayers have been answered, that has been our preferable matchup. We have Buffalo. Esther is in the chat. South Florida, screw the Fins. Matthew, 31-17. Buffalo, Denver. Book it. Melbourne, Australia, Mark Davis, hope all is well down under. London, England, of course, that's my guy over there, Alexander, hope all is well. It's a late one for you, bro. I'm tuning in from Pennsylvania. What is up, dude? How you doing? Squish the Fish, Michigan is in the chat. Chattanooga, New York, Biatch. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Go Bills. We got Buffalo in the chat as well. Guys, keep on roll calling in the chat. Let me know where you were tuning in from. Used to live in Albany. We have Virginia in the chat. We have Hawaii in the chat. Urban just recently moved to Hawaii, which is absolutely incredible. I'm envious to a point. I'm not even going to lie to you. Let's see this. Arkansas getting bigger out here. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Talk to me about that. How do you feel about playing the Broncos? Would you rather have played the Miami Dolphins? So I'll be completely honest with you. I would much prefer play the Denver Broncos because I don't want to go up against a divisional opponent, right? I have a feeling that it would have been a very annoying game, whether or not that it was Tyler Huntley, whether or not that it was Tua. This team is familiar with what we do, right? And even us losing to the Patriots this game, I said it during my live game reaction, we wanted to keep as much to the vest as humanly possible. We wanted to keep our entire scheme offensively and defensively a mystery. So whoever we decide to run into during the playoffs, they would be caught off guard, right? And the Dolphins, no matter how much we would like to do that, in full retrospect, they are familiar with us. They are drafted to compete with the Buffalo Bills. So it went for me. Denver was my favorite. Then it was the Dolphins, and then afterwards was the Cincinnati Bengals, since they went on an absolute tear, right? Like 5-game win streak, hot hand. I'm glad that we were able to avoid them. I'm not going to lie to you. Can you shout out my stream that I'm doing tonight for the Lions versus the Vikings? Check out Spears Sports Network, his live play-by-play reaction over there, man. You see his YouTube channel, linked, highlighted right on this damn TV screen. Let's make it happen. Daily CT, a Lions fan, he will say, if Lions win, Lions going Super Bowl 2025 first seed. Again, Jacob B. with sentences that don't make sense. I appreciate you. I need to write a concerning letter to your third grade English teacher. It is a severe problem. Let's go. John, how you doing? David, Louisiana, Dan, Mafioso. Cheers, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Cody. And let's be real. Miami gave us a great game last time. Bass 61-yarder. Absolutely. If I can avoid any sort of divisional matchup whatsoever, I will, right? And now the Ravens have to play a divisional rival. A divisional rival that has not only lost 4 games in a row, but has also historically had their number. So I'm glad that I'm not in their shoes having to play a divisional rival rolling into it, which makes it pretty intriguing if you ask me. I'm going to have to go on ahead and share this link because I'm going to have a couple of guests on today, and we're going to chat it up about the B-Bills, baby. Those damn Buffalo Bills. I'm going to go on ahead and hit my boy Thomas up. I'm going to go on ahead and spray that StreamYard link right for him to come on in and talk a little ball if he's feeling it. Buffalo, New York, baby. Ski Lee, what's up, dude? Hope all is well. It's very hard to win 3 games against the same team in a season. I'm glad it wasn't the Finns, and as much as it pains me to say it, I feel like we are overdue a loss from these despite how ass they truly are. Absolutely, man. Listen, I didn't want anything to do with that, and I'm glad that we had nothing to do with that for the most part. So, wild stuff, man. It's going to be a wonderful playoffs. And now I'm just curious to see whether or not that we're playing on Saturday or we are playing on Sunday. Crossing my fingers and hoping for a Saturday, but is what it is. Guys, listen, I do have an announcement. I am doing my giveaways once again, okay? And it's a beautiful thing because this week I have a great giveaway. It's been very difficult for me to be able to accept the fact that I need to give this away, but I love all the support that I have had from all of you all season. I am giving away, hold on, this signed Jim Kelly blue Buffalo Bills helmet. That is right. I am giving this away to one of you. I am announcing the winner during my live play-by-play reaction on Saturday or Sunday. So whenever the game is announced, I am announcing the winner then. And if you want to join this contest, folks, you have to be a subscriber to my YouTube channel. That is number 1. So I'm talking to everybody that's currently watching, that's just lurking. And there's no problem with that. I understand if some of you are shy, but just go ahead and subscribe and also leave a comment on this video when I am finished streaming for your overall entry. So Jim Kelly, signed blue Buffalo Bills helmet, could be yours. Go on ahead and make it happen. Look at that. Oh, this is beautiful. And so some people are probably just like, Dan, why in the hell would you give that away? I thought you liked that. Because I actually ordered an authentic helmet that I will be wearing on my damn dome piece during my live play-by-play reactions. That is for damn sure. Everyone get excited. Live right now, brother. That's what I'm doing. Sorry, I was just reading out loud my messages. That is beautiful. Yeah, hey, man, listen, it could be yours, but you have to be a subscriber right to this YouTube channel if you want an opportunity of getting in. I want that helmet so bad. Matthew, hey, man, come on in. Go Bills. Dylan, what's up, dude? Hope all is well. Are you giving away any cards? I don't have any more cards. I have a Keon Coleman rookie card. It's not signed. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't. We shall see. But I think that's probably a pretty big one. Like, so far this year, I've given away a couple of Josh Allen rookie cards. I've given away a shit ton of signed jerseys. I've given away a full-size Keon Coleman helmet, a mini Keon Coleman signed helmet. I gave away another signed helmet. I forgot what player it was. But yeah, like, I've been like doing giveaways all season long, and I'm probably about to start incorporating some more NFL-centric players as well, which makes it even more interesting. Guys, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Very important. Several of you probably watch on your phone. If you are watching on your phone, if you just slightly minimize that live chat, all you need to do, just do that very briefly, and you will notice a thumbs up sign appear. All right, it's time to celebrate. It's time to discuss what we need to expect. Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos coming up next week, and the overall playoff landscape. Talk to me about how everybody here is feeling. Do not be shy. Please, I want that helmet. Sid, may the odds be ever in your favor, my friend. Bill's new national ambassador. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That is a big responsibility. I'll probably lose it, but I am glad that I have it, at least for now. Would you send the helmet to Australia? Happy to pay postage. Listen, man, if your name gets randomly drawn, yes, I will send to Australia, and I would cover the postage myself. So you want to know why? Tax write-off, my guy. Anyway, let's go ahead and do that. What player do you think needs to step up the most for the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs? I mean, really, I really want to see our pass rush get in, right? Because I feel like that we've been pretty inconsistent. I want to get to the damn QB. I really do. So whether or not that's Von Miller, whether or not that's Ed Oliver to have yet another absolutely insane, crazy game, have to go on ahead and hope for the best there. But defense, defense, defense. We know that this Joe Brady's offense is going to go out there and absolutely cook. We can already bet and put the mortgage down that this Bills team is going to score 30 points on offense each and every single game that they play. He's proven that. Nothing about Joe Brady would ever suggest that we don't have an opportunity of doing this, right? So that's my overall thought process there. Texans winning the Super Bowl, big tizzle. Wow, interesting. A lot of faith in a struggling offense in a terrible division. Sean outcoaching McDermott, Bills fans' biggest fears. Broncos kicked some serious ass today. Would be lying if I were to say I wasn't a little nervous. Here's the problem, though. Like, they didn't have Patrick Mahomes. Same thing with Isaiah Pacheco. No Travis Kelce. No Karlaftis. Nobody. Like, they literally had nobody, ladies and gentlemen. It was just a practice squad at the end of the day. And then that is all that matters. So no need to be scared, folks. No need to fear. Because that Denver Broncos team was going up against absolute backups. All right. Now, listen, I do need to give one more giant shout out, and that just so happens to be to our guys over at William Mattar Law Offices. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are ever hurt in a car, and if you are ever in that unfortunate scenario, you have to have the correct representation. And I always recommend William Mattar Law Offices. Hurt in a car, call William Mattar. Don't want you guys to ever be in that situation. But if you are, the right representation is very important. You see his number right on the screen. If there are any issues, please give him a ring. And he is the best representation on the face of the planet. Smash that like button as we welcome in Thomas. What's going on, man?
What's going on? Hello. Oh, my camera's very close.
Dude, how is life? It's been a while since I've seen you on camera. So last couple of times you've been on here, I know you were no camera. You were just out in the field, baby. And that's completely fine, but it's good to see your face, man.
It's been good. Glad to be back in the studio, getting ready to roll.
Yeah, guys. So fun fact, him and Sterling are about to launch completely their show over on the Charge podcast. I'm very excited for it. Thomas, of course, sent me over his intro song, which is done by artificial intelligence. Scares the shit out of me. I'm waiting for artificial intelligence to come out here and just make like a copy of Dan Mitchell or a copy of Thomas and just completely take over the YouTube game in general. But despite that, I'm still very excited about your show, man. Been looking forward to it, and I highly suggest everybody watching this goes on over to the Charge podcast and signs up, because I know that my boy Thomas and Sterling are about to be bringing the heat.
This Thursday night, 7 p.m.
Thursday night, and a lot to unpack, right? A lot to unpack.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you. What a weird. I think this end of season with the MVP and everything going on has been one of the most tumultuous times I mean ever, I think, as a Bills fan, just in terms of the dramatic banter between fan bases, between Ravens fans, Chiefs fans, and Bengals fans are banding together to not allow Josh Allen MVP. It's just a weird landscape now. So lots to talk about. Yeah, man. And I mean, obviously that MVP conversation, because I'm screaming at some trolls in the chat almost on a daily basis about why I feel like Josh should win the MVP. But like, we'll go ahead and we'll scale that back here for a second. So
obviously, we are going to be seeing the Denver Broncos, and all week we saw all the possibilities. We saw the Cincinnati Bengals, we saw the Miami Dolphins, and I'm not sure about you, Thomas, but this was my preferred matchup. Like, this was my preferred matchup.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I can walk onto X or I can come on this stream and just puff my chest and say, bring on anybody. All right. Because we're kicking their ass regardless. There was still a pecking order of who I would have liked to see. What was your thought process on that? Are you particularly happy about this Denver Broncos matchup? Are there any challenges that you think they could put in our place? Would you have rather played the Dolphins a third time, or would you rather have rolled the dice with a somewhat questionable Bengals defense? What's your thoughts there?
I mean, this is without question my preferred matchup. Sean McDermott has a propensity of just having his way with rookie quarterbacks. He's done really well, really, really well, in fact. So I think that bodes well. Now, I'm not going to discredit Bo Nix. Bo Nix has done a great job. In fact, I was at the NFL draft this past year covering it, and a friend of mine who covers for the Denver Broncos, we were talking about it, and she was stunned when they selected Bo Nix, like really stunned. And I texted her a little bit ago. I said, who would have thunk that we'd be talking about Bo Nix and Josh Allen facing off in the playoffs? But, you know, I like what the Bills have. I think the Bills having a bye week heading into the playoffs is, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better scenario for a team to finally get healthy, get ripe. In terms of the other two options, I mean, we would have smacked the Dolphins around. Tua's not playing. Snoop Huntley does not scare me. If anything, and I gosh, it sounds really pitiful. I didn't want to face the Bengals right now. Like, and as much as like people are like, oh, you know, their defense is terrible. Joe Burrow is on a heater right now.
He is on a heater. And
the last thing I want is Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and maybe Chase Brown coming back and having to worry about them. I just, man, at the end of the day, people are all like, oh, you got to go through, you know, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chiefs. I don't give a shit. My mojo is not going to change whether I go through the Broncos, the Chargers, the Chiefs, or whatever variation.
No, man. Most definitely. I could definitely understand where you're coming from there. I feel bad about the Cincinnati Bengals. We will see if they end up ultimately firing Zach Taylor this offseason. But, I mean, listen, sometimes when I'm in that argument about who deserves the MVP over Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, like sometimes I almost feel like saying, listen, I wouldn't even be as pissed off if you were to say that Joe Burrow, in sense, is more in competition with Josh Allen than, of course, with Lamar Jackson. But it's nice to completely avoid them. Now, looking at the rest of the playoff landscape, right? Like we have second seed, Bills, and then the Denver Broncos for the 7th. I don't know, man. And so I'm not sure if you're on the same page with me, but I've kind of been salivating about this. I was messing with the playoff machine on ESPN for weeks, and I have been trying to manifest a Pittsburgh Steelers versus Baltimore Ravens wild card round matchup. I don't know, Thomas, but like when I look at Tomlin, he did get the best of Baltimore once this season. Historically, against Lamar Jackson, against John Harbaugh, Tomlin always comes out. The Steelers have lost 4 in a row. Okay. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's absolutely crazy to say that Pittsburgh could go out there in an ugly ass game in Baltimore and win like 19-17 or something like that. Last minute field goal. Am I nuts for saying that?
I don't think you're nuts. I just right now, I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Steelers. I think George Pickens is really underwhelming at this moment. Aside from like his off the field antics, he's obviously a massive head case. And I've had conversations with people who disagree. He's a massive head case, and his play on the field does it like you know, like Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs was a pain in the ass, but he was really, really good. So you're like, well, whatever. He's a pain in the ass. George Pickens is not good enough to be as much of an asshole as he really is, or at least he's not putting it on the field. In terms of the team, you're right. I mean, we don't know what version of Lamar we're going to get. Lamar has not really been prolific in the playoffs for most of the time that he's been in the NFL. I think if there was one team, I think I'd love to see, just because I think they have the horses, is the Chargers. I think
Yeah.
the Chargers could go toe to toe with them. But again, I don't think you're crazy, because
Yeah.
divisional matchups are always inherently difficult.
It's a pain in the ass.
So, right. And the other side to that coin is, if it's in Baltimore, it's going to be cold. So who would you rather be in a cold weather game against the Ravens than the Steelers? I mean, the Chargers flying cross country, playing in weather they're not accustomed to, is not going to be convenient.
Yeah. No, man. Like, honestly, like when it comes into it, I just imagine that this game, and it reminds me of that one game as well, like same year when Cincinnati sent us home, right, in the divisional, when it was between Tyler Huntley and the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals just a couple of years ago, right in that wild card round. If he didn't fumble at the goal line, then the Ravens ultimately would have ended up beating the Bengals that one year. So I think that people who are just going out and saying, hey, you know, like this is going to be an easy win for Baltimore, like this is probably the last matchup that you wanted. This was the last matchup you wanted this early on into the overall playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I don't think, at the end of the day, especially depending on what happens with Zay Flowers. I mean, that's a huge question mark for them. And Kyle Hamilton's wrist, I know he came back in, but we'll just see how that looks this week, because that's a big time question mark if there's any issues with that. But I think the Ravens right now, any matchup is a tough matchup for them, just because, I mean, if they're missing Zay Flowers, now you're down to Bateman, and you have to run the ball.
Oh, dude, I did see him. So did he end up getting hurt?
Or Zay Flowers did get hurt, and he was out, and they're saying he's week to week.
He's week to week as well.
Yeah.
I think that would destroy a couple of narratives, like right then and there. But I mean, it's gonna be tough, right? Like, obviously, we have the Denver Broncos coming up. I'm hoping for a Saturday game. I'm hoping like for an early Saturday game, so we understand exactly what we're going with. But thoughts on the Chiefs as well, right? Like, they have found ways to win. Like, they have found ways to win all season long. And people are automatically just booking that they are going to be in the AFC Championship. Like, I talk to anybody, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be Kansas City. It's going to be the AFC Championship game right in Arrowhead by itself. Do you potentially see a team upsetting them in the divisional this year based off of what you have seen from the Kansas City Chiefs this year on an offensive side of the ball, some inconsistencies, or do you think it's cemented in that game is being played in Arrowhead this year?
Gosh, there's two sides I want to say to this. The part of me that's watched most of Kansas City's regular season football says they're beatable, right? Like, they're a team that's skated by a lot of very close victories, had some ball, some proverbial balls bounce their way, some calls that went in their direction, whether it's the refs or not, whatever, they found ways to win. And so in that sense, that part of me is saying they could be beaten in the first round for the divisional, excuse me. But then there's the other side to that, the more logical, the guy that sees through the trees and says the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs are just a whole goddamn different machine. And every single time we sit there, like last year, and say, oh, they're at their weakest, they're the most beatable they've been, like Tom Brady and the Patriots were for years and years and years and years. How, they're beatable, we could beat them. And what do? They won the goddamn Super Bowl last year. So
yeah, no, it's true.
I can sit there and in my mind say, on film, they looked like a team that could be beaten this year, and they look like a team that could be had. And the Bills have had their number a couple times and pissed it away. Until somebody beats the Chiefs, I can't say they can be beaten in the playoffs, because just nobody's done it. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
The only time it ever happened was the Bengals, and Pat Mahomes had his worst half of football of his entire professional football career.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I hate to look ahead. I really hate to look ahead, but you know what? It just seems like that it's written in the stars at this point that it's going to be Bills, Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead for the AFC Championship. I really do.
Sure,
I don't see a team walking into Buffalo and beating us, especially since we were undefeated at home all season. And I'm not sure about you. Like, sometimes I even have conversations, even outside of trolls, like Bills fans are still like walking on eggshells. And there's like, oh man, like I'm afraid of this team. I'm afraid of this team. It shouldn't be this hard. So to accept the fact that we have a good football team when we won 13 games, we took down both of the 1 seeds, 9 games, 30 plus points. And the cherry on top is that nobody outside of Bills Mafia thought that we were going to win more than 8 or 9 games this year. It's really frustrating. And I've been trying to like pinpoint it. Like, what exactly is making Bills fans so nervous? Is it the past of how Sean McDermott has shown to get outcoached in certain situations? Is it that defense as well, which I think you and I were on the same page about 3 or 4 months ago, where we thought that there was more to the defense than we thought. But obviously, like now we have a full season to reflect on. Like, why do you think that there's still like some sort of not so much confidence rate in a squad that has accomplished so much in this regular season, like going into it all?
Why am I confident in this team?
No, why do you think people are still questionable about this squad after all of the accolades?
Oh, okay.
That we, yeah. Like, what's your psychological analysis of Bills Mafia?
I think it's just the fact that every time we just haven't got it done. I mean, it's kind of, and I hate to say that, it's like, I'm going to use a really weird analogy, but it's like that person you were with that cheated on you, and then you stay with them, but you always have that like residual feeling that it's going to happen again. And it's the same thing as like when for 17 years they talked about that kind of like, I don't know, that unhealed wound of being a Bills fan, that like you always thought you waited for the other shoe to drop, right? Like when you're playing a Bills game, they might have been ahead, but you knew that they were going to collapse in those moments. I think the problem is, as good as this team is, and they deserve all the accolades, Josh Allen is playing probably the best football of his career outside of maybe 2020. Like, if the team itself has so many good positive pieces, the coaching is really good. They're healthier than they've been ever going into the playoffs. I mean, the only people on injured reserve are Balen Spector, Travis Clayton, and Shane Buechele. 3 non-factor players are on IR, where in previous years it was like Tre'Davious White, Matt Milon. I mean, big-time pieces to this team. So it should be, for Bills fans, a feeling of like, okay, we're ready. We've got this team. But I think the problem is, and it's a lot of the same for a lot of fan bases that talk about the Bills. And they talk about this like same thing they talk about Lamar. Like, until you do it, like there's no proof. The proof is in the pudding, right? So like, as good as the Bills have been this year, and they have been, until you finish the job, it's more lip service than it is like you have to walk the walk while you're talking the talk.
So I have to go back to defense, right? Because like we've been on the same page about some of the struggles we have shown in the past. And I think that we can both agree that our identity, or at least what Babich, I think, wanted to create, was a team that does bend but not break, but trust our playmakers to take the football away. And like we have been top 3 right in turnover differential for the vast majority of the season. And I think some people are nervous that that strategy might come back to bite us in the ass. Are you on the same page with that? Are there any defensive question marks? Talk to me.
No, I'm not. No. I'm not concerned. And
good.
So keeping the things between the 20s has always been like at the end of the day, they play a type of football where they say, do what you want, right? Like, if you want to, like people talk about like, oh, you got a ton of yards, like Aaron Rodgers, right? He had a ton of yards on the Bills. I don't give a shit, right? Like, you can do whatever you want between the 20s, but when you get to the red zone, if you're not cashing in, field goal, 7 points, whatever it is, all that is just nothing. It's nothingness. It's literal just sludge on the stat sheet because you're gaining a bunch of yards, but you have 0 to show for it. So if you can play like that, that's what I love to see, because it's controlled chaos. And then the flip side to that, this is the most dynamic Bills offense that we've seen in Josh Allen's career, in Sean McDermott's career, the best offensive coordinator. Like the skill position group, who they have, the way they complement each other is such an asset that it makes this team so hard to defend because you've got guys that can play the vertical game, that can run the 9 route, that can go up and get the ball like Amari Cooper did where he plucked it out of the sky. You've got guys like Khalil Shakir who can run seamless routes, who can literally create space, who can find the soft spot in the zone and have impeccable hands. You've got a really, really good running back. You've got 2 very talented tight ends. And then you've got great role players in Curtis Samuel and Matt Collins. And you got guys that can fill all these different roles, and it makes the Bills offense incredibly dangerous. So, and Josh Allen hasn't even been mentioned, the most dangerous weapon of all weapons, right?
I agree.
So now that you have an offense that I truly believe that the last couple weeks have just been kind of an anomaly more than they've been the rule. Because if you look at the first half of the season,
So
they
what
were a
we
lot more
playing
in control.
for, right? So what were we playing for the past couple of weeks as well? I think
Right.
Josh even ended up hinting at it during a press conference. I think it was after the Jets game or like the Pats game where he was just like, yeah, like we would like the number 1 seed, but at the same time, like we're not trying to show like everything. And we even
Exactly.
saw that in today's game as well, man. Like we were just playing lackluster defense. Of course, granted, we had backups out there, but still, like we don't want to show anything schematically from either playbook at all until it's the first playoff game of the season. And I'm sure we're probably even saving a couple of plays here and there for whoever we play in the divisional. And also if we ultimately end up getting over to the AFC Championship. So I don't know.
And you have to stay toe to toe. Like Josh Allen in the playoffs is a different animal. Like he's very good in the regular season. We know this, but Josh Allen in the postseason has gone toe to toe with some of the best. He's had his hiccups, but I think a lot of that had to do with what was going on around him. It wasn't just him. And so when you play Josh, sure, if you can score, that's great. But you also have to know that he's going to be able to make plays happen. So if you're not staying toe to toe with him, you're going to get lost in the dust. And I think like this first game against the Broncos, like Bo Nix is great, but Bo Nix is not going to have a game like today, right? Like you're not going to get a shell of a team like he's playing.
No.
You're going to get a very potent Bills defense who is going to be having a week to prepare, as well as 17 games of game tape for his staff to literally chew on and find every weakness and exploit it come next Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, most definitely. Chat, listen, we want to show you a little bit of love right here. So if you want to get in on the conversation, ask us a question. All right, so please do us a favor. Ask your questions in the chat. But start it off with a Q, with a capital Q and a colon, so we know exactly who to choose. I'm going to go on ahead and see exactly what some of these guys have been saying already. They said we weren't making the playoffs. Now they're resulting to bringing up 0-4. It's a new era, my F, and quite frankly, if you're not a Chiefs or Patriots fan, you're just trolling. Y'all know JA17 is the king. He is the man. And you know what? I would have to agree with you. That was eloquently put, my friend Broken Tables. And I'm sure you're probably getting exhausted arguing about that MVP conversation. And so obviously I follow you on X, right? But I think that you're probably still on the same page that this is quite easily Mr. Josh Allen's to win this year. Is that correct, Thomas?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of underlying metrics and statistics that point Josh's way. And here's the thing. Lamar has had an unreal year, truly. Unreal year. He's been terrific in every way.
There's no question.
But you cannot, for the life of me, convince me that a quarterback should win the MVP when his running back has 1,900 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to jive with that. Like, and Josh Allen is doing all of this. Like, so here's the thing. They knew Lamar was going to be good this year. The expectation Lamar was going to be good this year.
Yeah.
The expectation was the Bills were going to take a massive step back. Everybody said it. It wasn't the Bills fans. Bills fans were like, I think we'll be okay. Everybody else said that he wasn't going to be good, that we were going to take a step back. And what did they do? They changed everything. And they went 13-4. I want to say 14-3. I was really hoping for 14 wins. 13-4. And Josh Allen is one of 3 quarterbacks all time to average 3 points a drive. I mean, that's ludicrous. He has had 11 or 12 games this season with at least 30 points a game. He's set the franchise and NFL record of 509 points. Or no, the franchise record of 509 points. He's one of 2 teams this season to set for 500 through week 16. He didn't play in week 17. It just the stuff he's doing, he's doing it, and he's rising a team that shouldn't have been to where they were. We didn't have Amari Cooper for the first 4 weeks. Most of the receivers, minus Matt Collins, have been injured for at least one game. Multiple of them have been injured for 2, 3, 4 weeks. So what Josh Allen is doing is taking a team that shouldn't have been where they were based on everybody's narratives, and he put them right back on the top of the perch, better than they've been ever before, breaking record after record after record after record. I'm sorry. Like, I get Lamar's doing a great job, but Lamar's doing it with a cast that he should be. He has Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the game. Derrick Henry, a literal first ballot Hall of Famer who has 1,900 yards, one of the best young wide receivers in the game. Like, yes, Josh Allen should and probably will win the MVP.
Hey, man, listen, you know what? I have been saying that exact same thing, and I told all the Ravens fans in here, I said, listen, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just trying to give you a resource when you're looking for answers as into why Josh Allen wins it. Come back and watch one of these videos or follow me and Thomas on X, because we have been telling you why he's going to win over Lamar all damn season long. Now, guys, have a lot of questions in here. We're excited to get to them. I want to remind everybody to smash that like button. All right, listen, I know a lot of you guys are currently watching on your phone. Sometimes that live chat hides the like button. Just minimize it momentarily. Smash that like for me. Let's go on ahead and propel this out to the YouTube universe, because I know Bills fans are absolutely pumped that we finally understand who we are playing. First question comes from my good friend Nicholas, who is from Australia. Man, listen, this is one of the several Australians that like to come in here and hang out with me. Good morning in Australia, Nick. He says, will we see much more aggressive run defense for the Bills during the playoffs? Here's my thing, and hence why I really like this matchup against the Denver Broncos. Number one, like Thomas put, is that we are going up against a rookie QB, but the Denver Broncos have also been struggling tremendously in establishing anything on the ground. Like, they have not been running the football effectively for the past couple of weeks. That's been a massive issue, huge headline over in Denver. So this is probably the perfect position that we could be in. Now, I think this Buffalo Bills team, when they had a fully healthy personnel and they truly committed to stopping the run, we have done it a couple of times, right? Like, we ended up completely stopping Kenneth Walker over in Seattle to like 12-something yards. That was when we ended up having a fully healthy squad where we trusted our DBs to cover their wide receivers, and we just ended up locking down on running single high coverage and committing to it by itself. I honestly think that this run defense is about to do a hell of a lot better than people are fearing that it will, right? I think it's going to surprise people. What about you, Thomas?
Well, I mean, you have to give them something, right? Like, when you're playing football, you end up giving them something. You can't just stop everything. It is just the reality of what it is.
No, you can't. You can't.
And a lot of times, Sean McDermott is willing to give up the run because, generally speaking, when you're running the ball, minus the one Ravens game where the script just got off, we didn't have three All-Pros. Like, it was just not a fun game. More often than not, when you do that, you're not going to be successful, because if you're not passing the ball, you're not winning the game, right? You're limiting your possessions by running the ball. Unless you have a guy that's running 90-yard touchdowns every single possession, you're not going to win the game. So the Bills are willing to do so, and then they play very, very tight coverage, which is why Christian Benford's one of the best corners in the game. And that's why Rasul Douglas has had a pretty steady year. It hasn't been great, but it's been steady. The Bills have been one of the highest teams in terms of takeaways. They have the second most turnovers in the NFL. So, sure, you're more than welcome to run the ball, but when you put the ball on the ground, or if you throw it up in the air, we're probably going to take it away from you. So I'm fine with them doing that, because you know what? Josh Allen and the Bills are running the ball at a better clip than most teams in the NFL. James Cook is a 5.0 yards per carry for the season, which is ludicrous. And Josh Allen is throwing the ball at some of the most efficient that he's done throughout his entire career. So I think it's fine. Could they be better? Sure. And I think a lot of it is they're probably going to get a little bit healthier as things go. They've actually had less snaps of Daquan Jones through the last couple weeks. So they've actually are going to be tapering him or basically ramping him back up into the postseason. And then I think the other thing is Jordan Phillips and Quentin Jefferson's additions have also really helped.
It's been
And they've
nice.
had to also get assimilated back into the defense too. So there's a lot
Yeah.
that's going on. And then the other thing that's huge, and you've noticed, Dwayne Smoot being back has been a massive addition to their run support. So they're, like I said, they're getting healthy at the right time. All the pieces are coming back. Matt Milano is, you're seeing his speed coming back. You're seeing him trigger better when it comes to hitting the holes, hitting the runs. So there's a lot of things that are positively piling up the right way.
Yeah. I mean, most definitely, dude. Most definitely, folks. Have no fear about this damn run defense. They are about to surprise you. Matthew comes in and says, who do you got in the NFC for the Super Bowl? So I'll tell you what. And Tom, let me know if you're on the same page here. I have recently hopped on the Minnesota Vikings train. I like the Lions. I have been a big fan of the Lions all season, but we have been seeing week after week, they were just kicking the can down the road before they saw the consequences of all of the IR placements they have on defense. And once they end up going up against like these high quality teams, it's going to bite them in the ass. And I think it bites them in the ass tonight. I want the Lions to win, but I have a feeling that Minnesota is going to get the first seed. I see Minnesota running away with it. That defense, Brian Flores, solid wide receiving core. I'm picking the Minnesota Vikings. I am.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of right there with you. I think Detroit's in a rough spot right now. Their roster is really thin. Obviously, losing David Montgomery was huge. Aleem McNeil, not having him is going to be huge. There's just too many holes. And like as good as their offense is, and it is really good. Jared Goff is, God, I think he's playing probably the best football of his entire career, which is crazy.
He is.
And they're really, really good. Minnesota is they're an absolute machine.
Monster.
And Justin Jefferson is terrific. Naylor is a very, very good receiver for them. They've just got so many weapons on that team. I think Sam Darnold in the reclamation project that he's been, I couldn't be happier for the guy. I think the Jets, all they do is destroy quarterbacks, and it seems every quarterback that's come from New York has now prospered in different places.
Yeah.
So that's exciting to see. And yeah, I think they are. I don't think there's another team, unless Green Bay decides to get hot because they've got a hell of an offense, and I think their defense is good enough. But losing a couple pieces like Jair Alexander is going to be tough for them.
Yeah.
So I think there are teams that can compete. You know, who knows if the Rams get hot? That offense is just, gosh, it's a machine as well. But my assumption, if I had to take a bet, I would say Minnesota is probably the one I would bet. And what a better story than the 0-4 Minnesota Vikings versus the 0-4 Buffalo Bills. Two teams who have literally never won, have been to the Super Bowl 4 times, and have lost in the Super Bowl 4 times. And two quarterbacks who are best friends, Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, playing against each other for the right to win their first Super Bowl. That would be such a fun. So I think, honestly, Minnesota or Detroit, I would love to see either of them. I think they're great teams. Good. I mean, I've never had an issue with either fan base. I think they're great people. I think that would be a hell of a fun time against Buffalo.
Yeah. No, man. Listen, I think it's going to be Bills Vikings for the Super Bowl. That has been my pick for the past couple of weeks, at least. Devontae is coming on in saying, is there any matchup for the Broncos game that could be troubling for us? So I want to give respect to their defense. I really, really do. Obviously, whoever PS2 lines up against is going to be an issue. Have to watch out for Nick Bonito. They have a great pass rush. But at the same time, we also need to understand how well our offensive line has been doing this year in not only run blocking, but also in protecting our quarterback in Josh Allen. I think that they might be able to cause us some troubles, at least at the beginning of the game, but I trust that Joe Brady makes the appropriate adjustments. If we were going up against like a high-powering offense and they have this sort of defense, then maybe I would be having an entire different conversation with you. But I'm not necessarily going to go out and say that we're going to hang 30 points on this Denver Broncos defense, but I can almost guarantee 24. And so I think we'll find ways to get it done. What about you? Some matchups that keep you up at night.
Yeah, there's a couple guys. I mean, Cortland Sutton is
Yeah.
having a terrific year with Bo Nix. I mean, obviously Bo Nix, you have to start at the top, right?
Yeah.
Bo Nix has done a great job this year as a rookie. Really came along. Sean Payton's really, I mean, talk about a quarterback whisperer. He's really done a hell of a bang up job. So love that. Love what he's done. Cortland Sutton's really been just an impact player for them. And then in terms of the defense, I was talking to my friend who covers the Broncos, and I mentioned to her, I was like, honestly, I feel like Josh is going to go after Patrick Surtain. And it sounds crazy, but Josh isn't scared of anything. Josh isn't scared of a wide receiver. He's gone after Sauce Gardner before. I mean, he's gone after the best ones in the game, and he doesn't fear it. And to be honest with you, most of them don't go after Surtain, and I think you should. You should target him because without actually going, and I'm not saying anything about, I think Patrick Surtain is an unbelievable cornerback. He truly is. He's unbelievable. But you can't just not throw at the guy. Like, that's why his stats look incredible, because you're just not throwing at the guy. Of course he's going to look good. The limited reps he's going to have, he's going to look really, really good. Nick Bonito, like you said, I mean, talk about a guy that probably should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, having an unreal year. But this Denver team's good. But Denver played against a really shitty Bengals team, like a really shitty Bengals team.
Yeah.
And could not muster up with four opportunities to win that game. Could not figure that shit out. Couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
So, the Bills are a much better team than the Bengals right now, both offensively and defensively. I expect the Bills to have their way with the Broncos. The Broncos are not going to roll over and die, but Sean McDermott, like I said, has had his advantages versus rookie quarterbacks, and I think that continues.
Man, I am feeling the exact same way. We have Kyle's coming in. Yes, Denver looked good against the Chiefs practice squad. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I saw a couple of people come in here and be like, I don't know about the Broncos, man. And they look like world beaters. I'm like, bro, like literally look at their list of inactives for the most part. We can just knock that out for the most. But anyway, guys, I need to go make myself a little bit of dinner for the evening. I'm starting to go to the gym at 5 a.m. now. So I have to wake up at 4:45. I know. I don't know why I'm doing it to myself. Like normally I did like 7 a.m., but you know, I'm just kind of trying to get the day started a bit earlier. So my bedtime has been extended a bit earlier, so I need to go on ahead and get my P's and Q's together. But Thomas, how about you tell all the people, of course, about the Charge podcast, where to find it, and then say your goodbyes for us.
So my show with Sterling Furrow starts this Thursday night. Super excited. It's been a long road to get back here. Some of you may remember I was on Cover One, that other place. Now I am having my show. It's the YouTube channel is at Buffalo Media Network, but this show itself is the Charge Buffalo podcast. Super excited, really excited for you guys to check it out. If you would go ahead and subscribe on my YouTube channel at Buffalo Media Network, you'll find it right there. Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Super excited, and we will be having my friend who covers the Denver Broncos on to chat it up, give us all her insight, all of her knowledge, and we can kind of figure out what's going to happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Dan, as always, I appreciate you, and hope you guys all had a happy New Year and very nice Christmas.
Yeah, man, for sure. And guys, I just ended up putting the link to his channel in the live chat right there. So go on ahead and give that a subscribe for us, all right? That Thursday night episode, I will certainly be tuning in myself. Thomas, thank you so much for chopping it up with me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be live during the normal times tomorrow at 11 a.m. EST and 5:15 p.m. EST. There's a lot for us to unpack. Playoff football is here. Enjoy the game this evening, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.